Hello ladies and gentlemen, Big Daddy Top Hat here, ready to bring to you another exciting bonus video to accompany my regular shows for the week. 6 weeks ago, YouTuber Steeker uploaded a guest video to the channel looking at strange Street Fighter bootlegs. Everyone, including myself, seemed to get a kick out of this content, so I invited him back to provide us all with more lunacy by issuing him with the challenge to look at the bizarre 16-bit X-Men vs Street Fighter games. After surviving the ordeal, Steeker is back for round 3, allowing myself the opportunity to ask him to look at the king of Street Fighter bootlegs. What will the Portugueser make of the amazing Top Fighter 2000? A game with perhaps the greatest fighting roster of all time, which we didn't even know we needed. So let's sit back and find out more, as I pass you over to the man himself.
Hi everybody! You know, by now I think we've all looked at enough bootlegs to know the basic formula. You take a popular game like Street Fighter or Fatal Fury and then port that game to a system that couldn't handle it. Or alternatively, you take popular characters from several games and do a game mashup with them. I mean, don't get me wrong, I get why bootleggers did this. If you want money, you might as well sell what's popular, and kids did buy these. What I mean is, I've already told you the story of how my brother used to rent all these pirate NES Street Fighter bootlegs. But then there's the ones that do something that you did not expect. And you know what? Screw the intro, let's just jump right into the game. It's just, you gotta see this. Oh my god! Are you serious right now? Yes, this is real. It's a fighting game starring Muhammad Ali and Michael Jordan. And then you have Ryu from Street Fighter, a bunch of characters from King of Fighters, and Goku. Because of course it has Goku. Oh my god, are you serious right now? I just can't even take this. Okay, I gotta calm down. I am a professional. I cannot get over the fact that this game exists. And my god, do I love it. But let's start with a little context. For starters, I couldn't find any information on where this game was sold. But I did at least find some blurry pictures of the game's cartridge. And going by their format, as well as their lettering, it seems safe to assume that this game was never sold outside Asian markets. Additionally, Top Fighter is actually one of the names by which King of Fighters underwent in China. So again, it all seems to line up. However, even though this game is commonly known as Top Fighter 2000 MK8, it's also known by several other titles, including Top Fighter 2005 and Mortal Kombat 8. Which is kinda funny, considering there are no Mortal Kombat characters in this one. Honestly, I'm a bit surprised they didn't also throw in Scorpion and Sub-Zero. I mean, might as well go all in, right? Wait a second, I know that song. Oh right! This is the same intro theme song used in X-Men vs Street Fighter. In fact, both that song and this song are also used in another bootleg game for the Mega Drive or Sega Genesis called Final Fantasy. which was later released in the West in 2018 as Brave Battle Saga, which I've also reviewed on my channel. In fact, a lot of bootlegs keep reusing the same music and sound effects from past bootleg titles. I've mentioned in the past that almost every Sega Genesis bootleg game uses the High Seas Havoc sound engine, and the same applies here. But I believe most of these sound effects and songs came from Brave Battle Saga and Water Margin, as they were some of the earlier more prolific bootlegs to have been released for the console. Although I should point out that by earlier I mean 1995 and 1996. Yes, this whole bootleg craze on the Mega Drive and Super Nintendo did not start until the consoles were on their last legs in the West. This was likely because, during the 16-bit era, the Chinese and Russian markets were still playing 8-bit consoles, and it would not be until the 32-bit generation rolled around that 16-bit systems began to go down in price enough to become affordable in those markets. Well, I call them 16-bit systems, but they were really bootleg consoles. Just like how I had my Famiclone, aptly named Family Game, Russia, for example, had Dendy for the NES and Lifa for the Mega Drive. But we're getting a bit off topic here. I just want to provide some context as to when these bootlegs were released and as to why they keep using the same songs. And in fact, even though no one is truly certain on when this game was released, the assumption seems to be the year 2000 because of its title. Which makes sense, as a lot of the sound effects that were not taken from other bootleg games were clearly lifted from official games that would have been launched before the year 2000, but after the Mega Drive had ceased to be relevant in the West. So for example, you have Cyclops, whose earliest appearance in a fighting game was in X-Men Children of the Atom in 1994. Geese's voice was taken from the PS1 port of Real Bout Fatal Fury, which came out in 1995. The Round 1 and Fight voice samples are from X-Men vs. Street Fighter, which came out in 1996.
Round 1, fight! Round 1, fight!
And it also features a few voice samples from King of Fighters 98. So yeah, not only does this game have an impressive amount of voice samples, they came from a mishmash of sources, and all signs do seem to point at the year 2000. But okay, I've delayed this enough. Let's get into the game. I'll even be using a Mega Drive Mini controller for the full experience. Huh? Wait, could it be? No, it can't be. This game is good. It's pretty good, in fact. I'm honestly surprised about this. This game is genuinely fun to play. I know I was harsh on previous bootleg titles. I mean, sure, some of the Street Fighter bootlegs were pretty decent, but this game stands head and shoulders above those. I mean, sure, it's not Street Fighter or King of Fighters good, but it's honestly better than many official fighting games on the system. The controls are fast, fluid, and responsive. The hit detection does have some issues, like how characters performing a Shoryuken attack will have a few frames of invincibility that they really should not have. But for the most part, the hit detection is pretty solid. And when a hit connects, the game takes precautions to ensure that you can't get stuck in a hit animation loop, or that you can't perform any infinite combo attacks, which is more than can be said for a lot of bootlegs out there. But more importantly, this game is actually fun to play. I picked Michael Jordan as my main character. Oh, I'm sorry, Michael Jordan. And he played just fine. He has a projectile attack in which he throws a basketball, or should I say, skateball. As well as a sliding move that lets you dodge attacks and sneak up behind your foe, as well as a close quarters rolling kick move, and these moves work rather well. On the other hand, Muhammad Ali I wasn't so keen on. He's more of a close quarters type character, and I generally don't play too well with those, though he does have some pretty powerful moves. I especially like the one where he punches an enemy to the end of the screen, while still dodging any projectile attacks. But in fact, some more astute viewers might actually recognize Jordan's and Muhammad Ali's sprites from another game. Can you guess what game that is? That's right! Jordan and Muhammad Ali are actually sprites that were taken and then changed from Lucky Globber and Heavy D from the USA team in King of Fighters 94. Even their moves are the same, which makes sense. I always liked Lucky Globber's playstyle, which would explain why I got the hang of Jordan's moves so quickly, while conversely, I was never that big a fan of Heavy D, or really any heavy style characters in fighting games, so I couldn't get too far with Muhammad Ali. Every time I picked Ali, I moved like a butterfly but got stung like a bitch. But the point is, the game is actually really fun. And in fact, even when playing it now, it feels like King of Fighters. I don't quite know how to explain it, but the speed, tempo, the way the combo system works, this is King of Fighters. It's King of Fighters 94 to be exact. Yes, this is a King of Fighters game for the Mega Drive that we never got. I mean, okay, sure, it's got a limited selection of characters and it's a bit unpolished, but for a bootleg game, it's surprisingly well made. Ironically, I'd almost go as far as to say that the only characters who don't feel like they belong here are Ryu and Cyclops. X-Men vs Street Fighter handles differently than King of Fighters, and the way these two handle just doesn't feel right to me. I mean, even Goku handles better. In fact, Goku is by far the best character in the game. He's pretty much a copy of Jordan, using the same tricks, moves, and special inputs to pull them off. But he has one major difference. His beam attack fires forward, which makes it easier to just spam it against enemies. I mean, not to make a Dragon Ball Z joke, but I really wiped the floor with everyone while playing as Goku. I should also point out that in addition to your regular moves, you can also perform super moves by basically inputting the same special input twice really fast. Other than that, yeah, this is basically King of Fighters, with a few issues. The first problem is that there are only 2 attack buttons. You get a heavy punch, heavy kick, and that's it. No light attacks. Additionally, there's also an input bug. If you press forward plus B at the same time, your character will stop moving. On the other hand, I discovered that when performing special moves, you don't actually need to press the punch or kick buttons at the end of your input. So for example, if you want to throw Jordan's skateball, you can simply hold the punch button and rotate the D-pad over and over, and he'll keep performing his special move. Which is pretty funny when you beat Goku by throwing basketballs at him. Man, I swear, power levels just haven't been the same since Dragon Ball Super. Still, I'm actually okay with this last one. The fact that you don't have to press the punch or kick buttons to perform your special move makes the game fairly accessible to newcomers. And it certainly helped me cheese my way through a few fights on certain occasions. Sadly, once you beat every other character, you get a congratulations screen and then the game simply reboots. Once again, just like X-Men vs Street Fighter, there are no boss fights. In fact, now that I think about it, I wonder if this is the same engine from the Mega Drive port of X-Men vs Street Fighter. We only had a video to go off on that one, but if it played anything like this, then clearly the Mega Drive version is the best 16-bit port of Capcom's classic fighting game. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the gameplay. I also think that the game looks pretty good for the Mega Drive, especially the King of Fighters characters who have a pretty impressive amount of animation frames. But on the other hand, Ryu and Goku sprites feel out of place. Ryu because it's clearly drawn in a different art style, and Goku because he has noticeably fewer animation frames than everyone else. I'm not actually sure where they got the Goku sprite. I thought it was from the only Dragon Ball Z game the Mega Drive ever got. But that doesn't seem to be the case. I also checked out a few Dragon Ball Z fighting games for the Super Nintendo, but none of them lined up exactly. So maybe it's possible that he was drawn from scratch, or that they took Goku sprites from a different game, but changed them to the point where it isn't immediately apparent which game he was taken from. As for the backgrounds, some look pretty good. I'd argue Terry Bogart's stage actually looks better than the official Terry Bogard stage we got in Fatal Fury 2 for the Mega Drive, as this pirate bootleg actually has more layers of parallax scrolling. Although I will say it still doesn't beat the NES Fatal Fury bootleg game we've seen before. Going back to Top Fighter 2000, most of its backgrounds are rather sparse in animations and scrolling layers, and as a result, just look passable. Like for example, in Ryu's stage where... wait, is that the Power Rangers theme? Please tell me I'm not crazy. This is the Power Rangers theme song, right? The funny thing is that for some reason Michael Jordan's stage is underwater, and Muhammad Ali's stage is the Great Wall of China? Okay. Why not just steal Balrog's background stage? And what's even funnier here is that there's a blurry picture of the back of the box this game was sold in, and it shows an unused stage from Muhammad Ali, which was inside a boxing ring, so why not just use that? The box also shows that Muhammad Ali's portrait had a mustache, but that also seems to have been removed. Overall, I have to say that this game greatly impressed me. I'll admit, I wasn't sure what to expect from this one, but Top Fighter 2000 MK8 is a surprisingly good game. I mean, sure, it's no Fatal Fury, Mortal Kombat, or Street Fighter, but I would honestly play this over a lot of official Mega Drive fighting games. And I don't just mean the bottom tier ones, like Tongue of the Fat Man or Shaq Fu. Although this would make for a better Shaq Fu game than the one we did get. I would honestly play this game over titles like Eternal Champions or even Primal Rage. It's just that good. So if you're in the mood for the fighting game on the Mega Drive that you never knew you wanted, then this might just be the game for you.
I hope you enjoyed Steeker's education provided on Top Fighter 2000, the King of Street Fighter, the game we didn't even know we wanted. Personally, I think this gentleman's work is top notch, so I am forever grateful for his contributions over here. One of the most frustrating things about working on YouTube is trying to get eyes on your work, and even with my growing subscriber base, I still constantly run into exposure issues too. Take my Ninja Baseball Batman video from earlier this week as an example. Hardly anyone has watched it so far, despite it being the first video ever made that goes into the making of and the commercial failings of a game. It is very hard for us YouTubers who do not chase trends to get our content noticed, and in many cases, if the videos do not instantly get clicked, they will immediately get lost within the algorithm. My Ninja Baseball Batman video is a prime example of this pattern, so now you know of its existence, why not go check it out? Further to this, the smaller a channel is, the harder it becomes for a creator to have their content visible within the YouTube ecosystem at all. Steeker is a brilliant example of a creator with a lot of fantastic work that often goes unnoticed. So with that said, if you have not done so already, I highly recommend you subscribe to his channel, as he certainly brings something different to the table. Let's build YouTube better. Yeah. Cheerio.